So I think that I had asked you guys to work on like 47 through 54. That sounds about right. Let's look. 47. Yeah, 47 to 54. Now, nobody's expecting you to be finished yet, but you know, we're like half-ish way through this chapter. If there were to be something that we do every chapter coming up here soon, you might want to be like maybe a little bit more familiar than I haven't done any of the homework yet. Just throwing that out there, hint, hint. Do you want to talk through any of these? What do you think? 47 through 54? Anybody make any progress? Find one that they were stuck on or didn't know what to do with? Or Edie?
52.
52. Okie doke. Let's see. All right. So when I look at 52, let's start by picking a side. Which side would you want to pick? I would do the left side as well because I think addition and subtraction is more complicated than multiplication. Now, what I want to do here is I want to try to get rid of that subtraction in there. So, kind of two ways to get rid of subtraction. One would be either like combining the like terms, or you could think about it as a factoring. And the factoring route is the route that I'm going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my identities, and I'm looking for an identity for tangent or tangent squared that includes a sine, or an identity for sine or sine squared that includes a tangent. So hopefully you see Q1. We can rewrite tangent as sine, or tangent squared as sine squared over cosine squared. And now I can factor a least common multiple out. Notice that each of those terms has a sine squared. So now I have two things multiplied together, but still one of those things has, oh, come on, come back. Kicked it too many times. There we go. Still one of those things has a subtraction in it, so I want to take care of that. There's no fractions in my final answer, so I look at that 1 over cosine squared minus 1. It's like, boy, that looks like part of a Pythagorean. Let's get rid of the fraction and see if I can piece together a Pythagorean from that. I know 1 over cosine is secant. I think, what's that, R5?
Yeah.
I don't have the sheet in front of me, so I'm trying to remember the numbers. Like, I know the identities, but I don't know them by number. And if I look at secant squared minus 1, that looks like P3, which is tangent squared. Yes, sirree. Now, was this the only way you could have done this? No, right? No, you could have done something different. This, I think, seemed like the easiest route. So again, if I see like addition and subtraction turning into multiplication, it's either going to be from like combining like terms. So either I have to write these as fractions and then add them together. I didn't love that option because sine doesn't turn into a fraction very easily. I mean, turn into like 1 over cosecant, but like yuckarooskies, I'd rather not do something like that. So I thought factor. And as soon as I looked at the tangent, I'm like, oh yes, that is sine over cosine. There's my 2 sines and I'm on my way. I don't think we've used expressly that trick as a starter yet, so that's a good one to have asked about. It's nice to kind of build out our arsenal of like, oh, what are things that I can do, so that you see a similar situation, you start seeing those patterns forming of like what to do, what to do, what to do. Great. Do I have others that we want to talk about? Edie. 54. Okie doke. All right. So if I look at this one here, which side would you think you want to start on? I agree, left side again. Even though it's only one thing squared and the other has addition in it, I like the other one on the right looks like I'm going to have to do some factoring to get it back to there. The one on the left looks like I can just do some foiling or expanding to get it. So I'd rather foil and expand rather than factor, although it would be okay to do so, but it's not going to be easy. So we're going to, the technical term here is expand. It's the same thing as like FOIL, if I can spell right. So basically I'm just thinking about this as x sine A plus cosine sine A times x sine A plus cosine sine A. So I'm going to FOIL that out in my head here quickly for everybody. Oops, that should be squared there too. Okay. So if we take a look at what we got here, bingo, that part's done. So somehow that x squared sine squared plus x squared cosine squared has to turn into just x squared. Well, if I look at those two things, I notice there's an x squared in common. So I'm just going to factor that least common multiple of x squared off of just those two pieces. Yes, there's an x squared in the other piece, but it's okay. It's what I need it to be. So like I'm not going to bother with changing that any. You know what I mean? And then hopefully at this point you see, Josh? Yep. P1, right? Which is just 1, so 1 times x squared is just x squared, and there we got it. So the most likely mistake would have been, my suspicion is getting the expanding done correctly. Very tempting to say that a plus b squared is a squared plus b squared. It is not. That is not going to be true. Never ever. So that was set up to trick you with, did you know how to do your algebras? Because you're probably like, where's that middle thing coming? Where's that 2x squared plus, or 2x squared sine x cosine, or sine A cosine coming from? Yeah. All right. Others with questions? Ava. 53. Sure thing, dude. All right. If you take a look at this one, Ava, left and right side, which side seems to be the more complicated of the two sides? I would agree. Now, there's two terms in each, but the left-hand side has power 4 instead of power 2. So that's the route that I would go. And what I see when I look at this is that cosine x to the 4th, when I see that, that looks like cosine squared squared. And sine to the 4th is like sine squared squared. So really what this looks like to me is like an a squared minus b squared. Ava, do you see that? So I'm going to use that difference of two squares factoring pattern. So it's going to give me cosine squared x minus sine squared x times cosine squared x plus sine squared x. And what do we notice right away now that we've got those factored? Well, that's just what I want, right? So the other piece just has to go away somehow. What is that other piece, though? You recognize it as? Ava? That is an identity. That is P1. Sine squared plus cosine squared is just 1. So that just kind of like when I multiply 1 to anything, it just doesn't do anything, and we're done. Yay! Looked way worse than it was, right? Looked way worse than it was. All right. How are you guys feeling? Yeah? Nah? Eh? It's like, Mr. Kulik, I just need some time to practice this. That sounds good to me. So what I got here for you guys, we'll make some groups. Some random groups. Let's see here that we got a couple of absences, right? Troy's absent. So that means that Brody, you may join the group of your choosing. Thankfully, look at this. Brooke, who is absent, who would have been able to choose her own group also. No big deal. What I would like for you guys to do in your group is to work on, if you haven't done 47 through 54 yet, you still kind of need to work through that. You can start there. If you've passed 47 through 54, let's do 55 to 62. If you're already through. If your partner is not as far as you are, you can choose to, there's no harm in starting at 55 through 62 and then circling back. I don't think they really become more difficult as you go along. Some of them are hard, some of them are easy. It's just kind of like, if you see what to do, you see what to do, and it's easy. If you don't see what to do, you don't know what to do, it's hard. It doesn't really matter. Kind of what I think. Is everybody cool? As you're working, if you have questions on things, feel free to come up and talk to me. But in general, get better together at doing this. You might have to do it soon for relatively low stakes, but still some stakes in the not too distant future. Hint, hint, hint. I will also announce an all or nothing extra credit opportunity for you guys for the next test. You ready to hear about this? Oh, cool. I hate this stupid thing. Why does it think I need this? I can't even figure out how to get it to go away. Anyways, if you look at the minor name, if you look at our class and you see the under announcements, surveys, so there are 14 surveys for the IBSL course. These are typically like probably 2 to 10 questions a pop that are probably things that you don't really have to look up. If everybody in class has responded to these surveys before the start of school on Friday, I will add 1 point of extra credit on the next test for every single person. But you all have to do it at some point here in the next 48 hours or so. There's just 14 of them. Many of them are very quick. Even the ones that might have 10 or whatever questions, it's going to be like, how, I feel sad during the day. Sometimes, always, never. It's going to be stuff you don't look up. It's just going to be stuff about, just questions like that. Survey style questions. Maybe you have to look up a GPA or how many Spotify tracks or something you listen to or something like, usually the lookups are pretty light. Maybe you have to use your phone. So write yourself a note on that. I would hate to not be able to hand out the 1 point of extra credit to everybody because somebody forgot about it. So remind your friends. Shouldn't take you very long. It's probably just like a couple of minutes a survey. I wouldn't think many more than that. 2 or 3 minutes a survey at most. There's no free responses. It's all just like type a number or pick a response, this kind of thing. So no writing that you have to do at all. It's going to be either enter a number or pick a multiple choice. Everybody's okay? That sound like a decent deal? Okay. That's it for me. So I'll get this guy out of your way here. So you guys can get up and move around if you need to sit near your partner. Brody, you can join. Again, you have your free choice to join any group you want since you're partnerless at current stages. You don't have to tell me. Just talk to whoever the other people in the group are and be like, yo, can I join you guys? And then the answer for me is it's okay with me if it's okay with them. Everybody ready? All right, let the learning begin.